everybody, it's your boy Fish. Welcome to another edition of the 2-point conversion with just me. It's just a 1 point. We're just kicking the extra point tonight, y'all. Tonight, Nooch is unable to make it, and I'm going to be traveling tomorrow, so I got to get this thing out. So he told me go ahead and go solo tonight. He hates it because, you know, Nooch wants to celebrate a big win over the Auburn Tigers. LSU beat Auburn 48-18 Saturday night in Death Valley. A great performance by the LSU offense, which is the norm now. I mean, that's just the way it is now. LSU's offense is clicking on all cylinders. But hey, the defense showed up, and we're going to talk about it tonight. Let's get into it. Let's just go through the game, starting with the first LSU drive. LSU took the ball first. Took them about 4 plays. Logan Diggs with a big run on this drive, just turned this safety inside out. A huge gain to get the drive going. And then Malik Neighbors goes into motion right to left. Jaden Daniels hits him with a little pass out in the flats. And Malik, as Herb from Game Day Tigers said, he hit hyperspace. Gone. I've noticed that a couple of times from Malik. He just has this ability to go from a jog to straight up track star. Down the sideline, big touchdown for LSU to start the game off. Great start. That's one thing that's kind of been lacking is a quick start on offense. Other than that, the offense has been great for the past 6 games, really. And honestly, if you take the first half of the Florida State game, we were good. We didn't punch it in, but the offense looked good. The second half was abysmal. So after that game, the LSU offense has just been on fire. If not the best offense in the country, it's top 2 or 3, depending on what category. And the Tigers came out on fire. Auburn gets a ball back, punts. LSU gets a ball back, drives down there again, gets a field goal. 10-0 Tigers still in the first quarter. Auburn gets a ball back, punts. And at that point, LSU had about 160-something yards of total offense, and Auburn had -3. LSU scored another touchdown to make it 17-0, and then Auburn did score a touchdown on their third drive. But here's how the first half went. It was 20-10 LSU at half. Auburn had punted 5 times. LSU had punted once. That in and of itself ought to tell you what I mentioned right off the bat, that the LSU defense actually came to play this week. I believe Nooch described Auburn's defense as, quote, shit-tastic. And they are. Look, their passing game is just abysmal. But their run game is actually solid. This is one of those games where you say, well, you can't really tell because Auburn's offense sucks. Well, no, you can tell because, hey, I don't know if y'all been watching LSU's defense this year, but there was not one time this entire game where I saw a wide receiver just running wide open. And we shut them down in the run game as well. And Auburn is a good running team. They're just a terrible passing team. This is a team that was hanging with Georgia in the fourth quarter. 20-20 game in the fourth quarter. LSU goes into half up 20-10. And it got me thinking because, you know, Caddy on Game Day Tigers said, well, y'all aren't scoring 40 on us. And I said, if we don't, we're scoring 38. Well, here we are 20-10 at half. I'm like, hey, we're halfway there. But they get the ball to start the second half. I don't know if we're going to make it or not. Jaden Daniels even had an interception there in the first half. That's his 3rd of the year. We're going to get to that. It's time we start looking at some Jaden Daniels stats. With that said, LSU had the ball 4 times in the second half. 4 touchdowns. 20 plus 28 is 48. That's how you got to 48 points. The LSU offense is, quite frankly, unstoppable. I mean, we ran the ball well. John Emery had a huge game of all people. John Emery always has a good game against Auburn for some reason. I don't know what it is, but man, he's like Nooch. He hates those dudes. Josh Williams came in the game, scored a touchdown. Caleb Jackson, big kickoff return. Finally, we saw something positive from special teams besides Damian Ramos and Jay Bramlett, who have been solid all year. But I'm talking about in the return game. Caleb Jackson put somebody else on the hood, and this time he didn't stop running when it happened. He ran straight through this poor dude. That's the future, Caleb Jackson. But Logan Diggs is who I want to talk about. Just another great game. Didn't quite hit 100 yards. He got to 97 yards. I haven't checked the stats this week, but I know going into the weekend he was number 2 in the SEC in rushing. And he missed a game. He didn't play the Florida State game, y'all. I was not expecting that, to be honest with you, out of Logan Diggs. I didn't know what to expect, but I wasn't expecting a bell cow. But here we are. And he's got great backups. So LSU ran the ball well. Jaden Daniels over 300 yards again. LSU over 500 yards of offense for the 6th game in a row. That's what this offense is doing. I said we were going to talk about Jaden Daniels' stats. Here's where I'm going to go with that to start off with. Passer rating, number 1 in the country. Yards per attempt, number 1 in the country. Passing yards, he's number 3, 6 yards behind Michael Penix, who everybody is saying is the Heisman Trophy winner. Caleb Williams probably played himself right out of the Heisman Trophy with 3 interceptions, including a pick 6 this weekend and a huge loss to Notre Dame. QB rushing yards, number 1. He's number 38 overall rushing. Talking about Jaden Daniels, the LSU quarterback, is number 38 in the country overall. He's the only Power 5 quarterback in the top 100 for rushing yards. Total yards. Talking about Jaden Daniels, not LSU. Total yards, he's number 1. He's got 500 more than the second place guy and 750 more yards than the number 3 guy. Passing touchdowns, he's number 2. Total touchdowns, he's number 2. Y'all have been posting it on Game Day Tigers. I talked about it in last week's podcast. Jaden Daniels is having a Joe Burrow-esque year. You don't have to like it, but the stats back it up. I'm just giving you facts. To think, even after game 2 or 3 this year, people were saying, hey, where's Nuss? We need to play Nussmeier. Daniels isn't going to cut it. Are you kidding me? This pace, dude's going to win the Heisman. If he doesn't win the Heisman, it's because he's not playing on an undefeated national championship team. That's the only reason. Because he is the best player in the country, period. If you recall early on, I was hyping up Jaden Daniels, and Nooch said he still needed to see some things from Jaden Daniels. He needed to see him take the downfield shots. He needed to see him throw the ball across the middle of the field. And in the first game or two, that was few and far between, at least in the Florida State game. But y'all, watch the games now. I've never seen a quarterback progress so much from game 1 to now we're just over halfway through the season. Jaden Daniels is putting the ball through keyholes. I mean, you talk about tight windows across the middle. He's hitting guys in stride over the top. He's throwing guys open. Everything we said we needed to see, we're seeing it. So most recently, the only complaint Nooch had was with him running, he's going to get hurt. He takes a lot of shots. Hell, in this game, right there in the first quarter, he started sliding. He didn't take any shots in this game. Still had chunks of yardage on the ground, but he just didn't take any shots. He got down when he needed to, came out healthy. It was just an incredible performance, again, by Jaden Daniels. Doxy has been doing a good, bad, and ugly every Monday following an LSU game over on GameDayTigers.com. Y'all go check it out. The bad that at least a couple of people pointed out, including myself, was Emory Jones, LSU's starting right tackle, got injured early in the first quarter. From all indications from Brian Kelly, it's a sprained ankle. I'm sure he's not going to play this week, and then LSU has a bye week, so hopefully he's good to go by the time we roll up into Tuscaloosa. That was the bad. Enter Lance Hurd. True freshman. He played a lot early on, especially in that Grambling game. He came in and played really well. Now he's playing against an SEC team. And hey, he had some first game jitters because I would consider this his first real SEC competition. He had a false start. Okay. Other than that, he played really well enough to be named the SEC Freshman of the Week. The ugly on my list was LSU fans. They have to have something to complain about. They're complaining about Denver Harris, Whit Weeks, and Deshaun Womack not playing enough. Man, guys, the defense played great. That's 3 defensive guys. The defense just played great. Yes, against a shit-tastic offense. I agree. But the defensive line got pressure. Paris Shand, Jordan Jefferson, and Braden Swinson, those guys are starter quality, and they're backups on our defensive line. Pete Jenkins, this is his second game helping out on the defensive line, coaching. The influence is evident. The LSU defensive line is playing like an LSU defensive line should play. We're getting pressure, batting balls down, and that's with the backups. Mason Smith, I thought, had his best game of the season. That's 2 games in a row that he's played pretty well when I was kind of dogging him early on. Now 2 games in a row he's played pretty well. That's a great sign. And then Harold Perkins. I mean, he was just a beast in this game. He had a sack, but he had a couple of quarterback hurries. He had a big tackle for loss. I mean, he was all over the place like we expected Harold Perkins to be all season. Brian Kelly talked about it in his press conference. What was the improvement on defense? And he's been talking about this all year. He's been using this phrase, 1/11th. And the first time I heard him say it, I had to think about it, but I figured out what he's talking about. There's 11 guys on the field for your team on every play. And in the beginning of the year, and really up until the last couple of games, we had guys trying to do 2 people's jobs, which meant that neither job got done. Now we have guys doing 1/11th. You are 1/11th of defense. Do your job on every play, and this defense will work. And we're starting to see it. I'm encouraged by the defense. Nooch was still sticking to the fact that Auburn's got a shit-tastic offense, and they do. But the bottom line is, like I said, you could see several things, or things you didn't see. Like I said, receivers running wide open. That didn't happen. You saw gang tackling. You saw Andre Sam should have picked the ball off and he just dropped it. But you saw Harold Perkins play his best game statistically. I don't know if it was his best game statistically, but hey, he popped on the screen. I know that. He is fast. There's not a quarterback in the country that can outrun Harold Perkins on a blitz, period. But the gang tackling is probably what impressed me the most. I mean, we missed so many tackles early on in the season, up until, like I said, a couple of weeks ago. Something clicked, a light switch went off, and, you know, if one guy got to somebody, next thing you know, there's 5 LSU Tigers on this dude dragging him down. Gang tackling. You go back and watch the 2007 defense. I'll use that one as an example. We always use 2011, 2003. Hey, 2007 was good too. There was always 5 or 6 guys on the ball carrier. Gang tackling. Hey, that helps your stats, man. You don't have a lot of broke tackles when you got 5 or 6 defenders on a guy. And I have not seen that this year up until just here recently. I don't know who flipped the switch, but somebody did. And LSU gang tackled in this game, and they tackled well. No really big plays out of Auburn at all. Just a couple of long time consuming drives where they stuck it in the end zone and a field goal. That's it. That was the defense. Let's hit some offensive stats real quick, and we're going to move on. LSU rolled up 563 yards on offense. Auburn didn't even get to 300. LSU averaged 8.5 yards per play. Auburn averaged 4.8. LSU had a lot of penalties, 12 for 100 yards. Brian Kelly mentioned that as presser. It is what it is. I am never one to really complain about penalties unless they change the outcome of a game. This one didn't come close. I like the aggressive nature. I've said before, the 2007 team that won the national championship led the country in penalties. It is what it is. Jaden Daniels passed for 325 yards on 20 out of 27. He did have the interception. It was a ball that was batted up in the air. 3 touchdown passes. Y'all, he averaged 12 yards per attempt, 16.3 per completion. Meanwhile, Auburn, 154 yards passing. Auburn, 139 yards rushing. LSU, 238. Outrushed them by 99 yards. Here's a stat that I want to talk about. Auburn, 3 out of 12 on third down conversions. What? Against this LSU defense? 3 out of 12? I heard Brian Kelly talk about this as well. In the last 30 third down attempts against LSU, we're going to split it in half. And we're going to start with the first 15 out of 30, the first half of this 30. Opponents were 12 out of 15 in those first 15. In the last 15, opponents are 5 out of 15. Tell me something hasn't clicked with the defense. Obviously, that goes back to the second half of the Missouri game because Auburn only had 12 third down attempts. They converted 3 of them. 3 out of 12. That stat is, it makes me so happy. LSU with 1 punt on the night. Auburn with 6. Let's talk about that. Nooch was of the opinion a couple of podcasts ago, and I disagreed with him wholeheartedly, that we need to be trying to return some of these punts instead of fair catching. And I'm telling him, dude, with this offense, just catch the ball and give it to Jaden Daniels in this offense and let's go score a touchdown. He disagrees. Well, we did return a punt. Good return. Gregory Clayton proved once again he does not have polio and can actually run. And what happened? He returns the ball out to the 50-yard line. Oh, but there's a penalty flag on the play, and LSU started that drive at about the 12. That's what happened. If he had just fair caught the ball and given the ball to Jaden Daniels, it doesn't matter. LSU went down and scored anyway. I guess it increased our offensive production. We got some more offensive yards out of the deal. But that's why I'm sticking to my guns. Greg Clayton, you go out there and fair catch the ball, give it to Jaden Daniels. Let's go score a touchdown. Hey, let's talk about kickoff returns. I mentioned Caleb Jackson. Had a good game running the ball, caught a couple of balls out of the backfield. But his big contribution on the night is he took one out of the end zone, returned it 60 yards, and set LSU up pretty. Opponents are going to start getting nervous when they see number 28 coming at him because he will put somebody on the hood. And he did learn from that Mississippi State run where he trucked that guy and he stopped and admired it. He learned his lesson. He ran through the dude he ran over against Auburn Saturday night. He ran right through him. This kid is going to be so good. He is the future, and I love it every time I see number 28 jogging out onto the field. I can't wait to see what happens. Hey, Kyron Lacey, he was a big star in the passing game this week. Brian Thomas Jr. only caught a couple of passes for 7 yards. He was only targeted a couple of times, but Kyron Lacey had a breakout game, tallied 111 yards and a touchdown with a beautiful catch and run of 57 yards. The run was the beautiful part. He didn't even score a touchdown on that one. His touchdown was on a different play. Malik Neighbors, 6 for 89 and a touchdown. That touchdown I mentioned on the first drive. John Emery, do y'all remember the opening play of the season against Florida State? Wheel route to Trey Bradford? Yeah, we pulled that out of the tool bag again, except this time it was John Emery Jr. He took it for 49 yards. Caleb Jackson, like I said, he caught a couple of balls out of the backfield for 24 yards. Mason Taylor had a couple of big catches, big first downs. Aaron Anderson caught a couple of balls, and Josh Williams caught one, but it was a big one, a 13-yard touchdown. That was the passing game. On the rushing side of things, statistically, Logan Diggs, 18 for 97 and a touchdown. Jaden Daniels, 11 for 97. He actually didn't score a touchdown this game. John Emery, he got in the end zone with a touchdown, 6 for 42. Josh Williams scored a touchdown running the ball to go along with his receiving touchdown. And then Noah Kane came in late, had one carry, got us a first down, and the game was over. Now, I've been raving about the defense. Zy Alexander is a guy I want to talk about. I've been down on this guy, rightfully so. We talked about he can run with the receivers if he plays his 111, if he doesn't come up and try to tackle a quarterback and let the quarterback throw the ball over his head for a touchdown. But as well as he can run with the receivers, he never turns around. He doesn't play the ball. He did this week. Again, I don't know who flipped the switch, but somebody did. He wound up with 8 tackles, led the team. Omar Spates, also 8 tackles. He played his best game as a Tiger. I want to talk about Paris Shand. 6 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, and had a pass breakup. His stats don't do that justice. He played even better than that, and that's good stats. Kind of similar to Harold Perkins. He only had 5 tackles, but he had a sack, 7-yard loss, plus 2 tackles for loss, and a pass breakup. He had a quarterback hurry. He just played a great game. He was all over the place. Braden Swinson looked good. He had a big tackle for loss, 12-yard loss. Like I said, the only complaints that I heard after the game from anybody was people saying, hey, Whit Weeks didn't play enough. Denver Harris didn't play enough. Deshaun Womack didn't play enough. Guys, we had it covered. Sage Ryan started at cornerback, played really well. He only wound up with 1 tackle, but, he wasn't targeted. He had his man covered. He played a good game. He did have a dumb penalty. He tackled the dude by his face mask, and I think that's illegal. Other than that, he played a great game. So the LSU defense, I don't know what they did, but keep doing it. Keep working on it. They still got to improve. Let's move on to this coming week's game. This week we are playing Army. From what I understand, the end zones are going to be camouflage. Tip of the cap to Army. And I'm cool with that. I have heard other people say, hey, don't boo Army. You know what? They're coming to Tiger Stadium to play a football game. Give them the real experience. Give them Tiger Stadium. Plus, I'm an Air Force guy. I was in the United States Air Force. I say boo them. I'm kind of halfway joking, but I am serious. These guys are coming to Tiger Stadium, and you can bet they're excited about coming to Tiger Stadium to play LSU at night, Saturday night in Death Valley. They want the atmosphere. Give it to them. Army is not your typical triple option Army team. They throw the ball. Yes, their quarterback can run. I'm not going to make any prediction on this game, but I will tell you, to my knowledge, they scored 0 points in their last game. So I would expect LSU to dominate. I would expect a lot of guys that haven't been playing to get in the game, get some experience. I expect a guy like Mekhi Wingo, who's been battling. He hadn't missed any time, but he's been battling through an injury. He's going to get a break. I doubt we see Mekhi Wingo at all this week. Hey, I mentioned earlier, we got Paris Shan, Jordan Jefferson, Braden Swinson. All those guys look like starters, and there are backups on the defensive line. Let them play. We're not going to have Emory Jones. That's going to give Lance Hurd more time and more experience at tackle. Hey, quietly, Miles Frazier. He has turned it up a notch. He's playing as good a football as you can get out of a right guard at the collegiate level right now. Earlier in the year, we thought that it wouldn't be long before Lance Hurd moved to tackle, and that would slide Emory Jones in because Miles Frazier was a liability, and he was against Florida State. He's turned it on. Brad Davis is a really good offensive line coach. You know what happened after this Auburn game? LSU already picked up 2 big commitments. The Chicken Littles amongst our fan base just freak out at every little negative thing, but they tend to overlook the good things that happen, and they're not very patient. Signing days in December with a secondary signing day in February. LSU is in the top 10 in recruiting. We're not done. Look at what is happening at Texas A&M right now. Texas A&M, boy, they can recruit, right? Yeah, they can. But they got guys starting to drop like flies out of their recruiting class. Big time, 5-star guys. And LSU's over here playing well. That offense is electric. And you get these guys showing up to LSU games where LSU runs Auburn out of the stadium, and things start popping in recruiting. Don't give up on this team. Don't give up on Brian Kelly. Don't give up on Matt House. Mike Denbrock is on fire. I remember a couple of bad games and people wanted Mike Denbrock. We should have never hired him. What? LSU's offense is the best offense in the country. Shut up. Let it happen. Sure, I wish we were undefeated right now. If we were, there wouldn't be any doubt. Jaden Daniels would be leading the way for the Heisman. He still may win it. He would be far from the first guy to win the Heisman with a couple of losses. Tim Tebow rings a bell. So enjoy this team. Enjoy this offense. It's fun to watch. I heard Brian Kelly in his press conference telling people, enjoy this. This is great stuff we're seeing right now. Was it great when we lost to Florida State? No, we got blown out. It was ugly. But on the offensive side of the ball, hey, we begged for this for years. Here it is. The defense is improving. It's not great. I wish Nooch was here because I would love to know what the standings are now defensively. In fact, I'm going to look it up. And it's still ugly. But LSU improved from the 120s to 109 just from playing Auburn. We need to play them every week. Fact of the matter is, that is the last time LSU and Auburn will meet as an annual rivalry. We talked about this last week. Nooch did his rant, his annual Auburn rant against the SEC for what they have done with this expansion, and they have, for all intents and purposes, killed this great rivalry. Here's something I would have told you were lying if you told me this. LSU, that's the most points scored by the winner in this rivalry's history. So chew on that one for a few years there, Auburn. What a way to end a great rivalry if you're an LSU fan. LSU defeats Auburn 48-14. We got Army coming up this week. Another Saturday night in Death Valley, 6:30 p.m. on the SEC Network. Y'all come join us at www.gamedaytigers.com. We're going to be in the chat room. Hopefully, Nooch will have time to put a game thread up. That's his job. He's derelict in his duty tonight, but hopefully he will hit the forum with a game topic. And that's usually where we discuss the game after the game. He'll put it up Saturday morning. We'll discuss the game after it's over on the forum itself. But yeah, we're going to be in the chat box Saturday night while the Tigers are dismantling Army in Tiger Stadium. Y'all please come join us. Go Tigers.